Hello, everybody, and welcome to Outraised Voices. I'm your host, Sharon Lee Williams, and I'm so glad to be here with you. And if you've been here before, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you're new here, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you. And as usual, we bring you conversation, education, and outreach, right? Today, I am going to we're going to be talking about limiting beliefs, and I'm going to be speaking with my friend. I know you've heard me say that, but she is my friend, Deneen Andrades. She's a mindset coach, as well as many other things. I'm going to give you a little bit of her bio because if I was to kind of read all of the bio, a lot of the show would be gone. So you could read up on her afterwards. But Deneen is an author, a speaker, certified in master level NLP and hypnotherapy and timeline therapy. She is also the founder and CEO of 7 Stages of Hope, which is a company that offers life strategies. But I just want to say she is qualified, certified, and bona fide. So welcome, Deneen. I'm so glad to be here, and let me give you a virtual hug. A virtual hug.
Hug for you as well. Thank you for having
Yeah, yeah. So I've asked Deneen to, as I said, to speak on limiting beliefs because that's seems where it all begins, what we think about ourselves and what we think about others and how those beliefs can affect our relationships, can affect our careers. In essence, they can affect our lives. So Deneen is going to tell us all about that and what is a limiting belief. I know there are coaches out there who know all this, or if you've been in self-help or have read a number of things, you know this. But for those of you who don't know, Deneen is going to explain what a limiting belief is and how they affect us. But before we get started with that, we are going to find out the becoming of Deneen. So I want you to tell us a little bit about your journey. What was your family life like growing up?
So for me, and again, thank you for having me. For me, I think it was a little bit different. And then as I got older, I realized I wasn't as different as I thought, which is one thing. You're never alone. I'll just start with that sentence. But for me, growing up, I always felt loved. I did not grow up with my natural father. I did not know him, but I had a huge network of love. My grandparents, my mom, my stepfather, aunts, uncles, that type of thing. However, there's always the thought that something might be missing because you're missing another half of you or the other half of you. You know nothing about that. And for the longest, I have to admit, I was very happy not knowing that because I
Right.
had absolutely everything I needed. Everything. I wasn't wanting for anything at all. And as we all know, if you know and feel that you are loved, you pretty much feel like you can do anything.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
The power of
And
love. Yes.
indeed. And it can come from anywhere. For me, it really was my family. But again, as I got older, I realized that it was really coming from many other places as well. Even some people that didn't even necessarily know me. And that is the beginning of understanding that you have a circle, you have resources. I did not avail myself of those because I was busy trying to be the best that I could be, whatever that was. I didn't know what I wanted to do, like in life, in terms of work and that type of thing. And I kind of had an inkling that I wanted to coach or at least help people. I knew that I loved people. However, I thought that I was too young to do it at the time. When I was
Hmm.
thinking of it, I thought that I was too young. So, introduction of limiting belief for me.
Oh,
Yes,
yep.
continuing on as I began to grow and study and network and all of those kinds of things. And my family began to age. I began to experience a good deal of loss. And
Hmm.
for me, I'm not talking about money loss. I wasn't quite at the point where I actually had any money to lose. For me, it was worse because it was a heart loss. It
Yeah.
was, again, not just me loving people, but this is my family we're talking about.
Yes,
And
yes.
I've always been really close to them.
Hmm.
So the one that hit me the hardest first that I can remember was when my great grandmother passed. When she passed, for me, it felt like someone had snatched the carpet right out from underneath my feet. My entire foundation was gone. Now, mind you, I had my mom. It wasn't that
Hmm.
she was absent or anything like that. It was just the
Hmm.
special relationship that I had with my great grandmother. And
Hmm.
I felt like she was the foundation of everything for all of us. So when she passed, I truly felt a little lost, and more than a little, actually. And
Hmm. Yeah.
so I thought,
That.
"Hmm, maybe what I'm missing is this other half of me, this other side of me." And I was beginning to grow at work and so forth and get promotions and that type of thing. And I started to travel all over the world, literally, as part of my job. And I was working for an airline as an industrial engineer. And the thing that struck me about that was when I started dating, like seriously, I thought, wait a minute, I better find out if I have brothers. I want to date someone and realize that this person, the reason we
I
get along is that we share the same blood.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling. But before we get into finding, because that's like finding your roots, finding that space. When you talk about, you said the first time you experience limiting beliefs. So let's just start there. What is a limiting belief? What was a
So
limiting? Did you have that verbiage at that time? No, probably not.
I did not have a definition at that time of what a
Yes.
limiting belief was. Once I began to study, because again, I wanted to help people. And
Right.
remember, my background is I was experiencing a lot of loss. So that was how I wanted to help people, was to help get them through loss or grief, and not just in death, but loss of any kind, of anything of value to you. My limiting belief, though, that was keeping me from doing the work that I felt I was put here on this earth to do, literally is, first of all, by definition, it is self generated. It is something that you choose to believe you are unable to accomplish. I'm choosing my words carefully. The word choose is
Yes.
intentional.
Choice. Yes. So is it not, is it as well you choose as as well as what the outside world is telling you
Yeah,
that
they can be
you
telling you,
are,
yes,
or you're hearing, because we grow up in all of this and we hear stuff, and we start to think stuff, and we compare ourselves and what we're not and what we are and all of that stuff. So we generate these stories about ourselves. So
yes, absolutely. These stories that we really and truly need to check ourselves as to whether or
yeah.
not they are true. Because
Yes.
9 times out of 10, they are not true. Again, that limiting belief is a belief that you have chosen to believe about yourself. It is
Yes.
always, always, always negative because of the word limiting. I
Yes.
can't do whatever. I am not worthy of whatever. I don't have enough. I personally am not enough.
Right.
Those types of beliefs, the limiting beliefs, are literally the very foundation of everything you did not, cannot, and will not do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I would say for me, one of the limiting beliefs I had as an adult was believing I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't educated enough. And I'm a grade 11. That's as far as I went. But
Mhm.
I surrounded myself with people who were very educated. But even in that miss, I felt, oh, do I deserve to be with them? Are they just talking to me because they feel all of that? That's a limiting belief that you carry in that held me back
Mhm.
in my career and in relationships. So that is a limiting belief that I held on to that I had to say, eh. But I had to
Yes.
grow into that, like you're talking about. We have to learn about that. We don't know about that. You don't know what you don't know, right?
Correct. Correct. We absolutely don't know what we don't know. And now, the very thing that you're talking about, the limiting beliefs that you had accepted, right,
Yeah.
are what everyone calls imposter syndrome, right?
Right.
You're in the right circles, you know the right people, you're actually doing the right thing. And
Hmm.
for some reason, you believe that you're not supposed to be there,
That's
that you
right.
don't deserve to be there, right? And again, that is the very foundation of all things negative about your life, is starting with that belief system.
Now that comes, for myself, and I think for most of us, it comes from our youth. What we grew up with, the environment we grew up in, or what we were told about ourselves. And as you know, most of the audience here, we talk about people in foster care and adoption. So when that imposter syndrome came in, and I didn't know really what it was, I had to find my way back to the words I heard when I was a youngin, as they say. I had
Right.
to kind of find my way back, and I think we often uh, have to do that because that's where all that stuff starts to take shape, and where that stuff. And I'm talking about all the negative influences takes over our lives, and we don't know. We're not aware of it. You're not aware that you're reacting to certain things in situations, and until you learn what you have to learn. So, is that one of the top three sort of limiting beliefs? The imposter syndrome and
It is. It's one of the top three. It's worded differently in terms of I am not enough. I do not deserve. Those are the two that I was also beginning to speak about. That's exactly what that is. The imposter syndrome is I'm not enough. I don't deserve to be here, right? I shouldn't be here. I don't know this. I don't know that. I don't have this, that, or the other. When I just have to say this a little early, right? But when the fact is, yes, you do. You belong there because you are there. You couldn't have gotten there if you didn't. And I'm not talking about any criminal activity or anything like that. I'm talking
yeah,
about your
I
growth.
hope you're not talking about any criminal activity.
No, not at
No,
all.
just we deserve to be there. The worthiness, feeling worthy is a
Yes,
big, you know.
I'm not worthy of these gifts, which, as I'm sure I'm going to talk through it just a couple steps, but which I'm sure when you realize that you believe about yourself that you're not worthy, what you actually do is push away the good things that come to you, because that shouldn't be mine. That should be someone else's. And if you think about all of the good things, all of the gifts, small or large, any of those gifts. Someone giving you a smile is actually a gift. That person is acknowledging not just your presence, but you actually made them feel a certain way about themselves. That's why their reaction was to smile. Most of the things that are happening that we're talking about, these limiting beliefs, and recognizing even what's going on with you, all
Yes.
are happening unconsciously.
Yes.
And
That's what I
that's
was going
why.
to ask you about. I was going to ask you, how do we even identify them? How do we identify them when they're happening to us? When we're not aware of them, how do we identify? What is some of the language we're saying to ourselves, or when you talk about it's being unconscious, how do we make that conscious?
So one of the ways is to pay attention to your behavior, because while it's an unconscious thought, it works itself out in your behavior. Excuse me. So for instance, if someone smiles at you that you don't know for no particular reason, right? If you find yourself questioning that, like, well, why did they do that? Take note. There's a limiting belief that is right there showing itself for you. If you are given a gift and you wonder, why did this person give me a gift? Limiting belief. Step back. You're probably thinking you're not worthy or deserving of that gift, no matter how big or how small. But pay attention to your behavior. If, when good things come your way, you recognize that you question it, number one, or pause, even if you haven't formed the question in your head, if you pause, like, that freeze, and that happened, if you realize you're doing that, it's because you're literally coming up against a limiting belief that you have. Your behavior is the best way to identify that you have run up on a limiting belief for yourself. And your self-talk, you hear in your own head, they're not going to believe me, or they're not going to trust me, or they don't even know me, right? So why would they do that? Well, some people actually, they feel like that's what they're here to do. And so they're actually here to support everyone that they can to success.
So, what is the relationship? I don't know between a limiting belief and self-sabotage.
They are the best of friends. They are the best of friends because of what I just said. You know that you're hitting a limiting belief because of your behaviors. Self-sabotage. Something good comes your way. Number one, you question it. That's the first step, right? Of recognizing that you have a limiting belief. If you continue down that path instead of trying to back up or do a 180, to change direction toward negativity, then your behavior will continue toward negativity. And like I was just saying, you will begin to push away those gifts, whether it is a promotion. And I've actually had someone say that to me once. I was giving them a promotion and they said, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I can do this. And I said, well, I'd like to present to the court because I'm silly sometimes, right? I said, I'd like to present to the court that you have already been accomplishing the work without flaw, without question, with full respect. People literally come to you for answers to questions on this subject. And I need you to continue in this path because you are deserving. You literally have been doing the work. And that I cannot stress enough the importance of that. You have been doing the work. And I say that because you're there. You are here. We are all here. We can help each other, starting with ourselves.
Yeah, it takes time. It
Absolutely.
takes time, even when you become aware of a limiting belief and understand. It takes time to reshape it, or as your book is, to pivot. It takes time to do all that. And we also have to give ourselves grace. So, okay, I recognize this. I didn't get into this overnight, and it's going to take me a minute to get out. But the first step is to recognize it. And I don't know, even when we talk about limiting beliefs, what comes first? Is it the self love, the self care, the self, putting on your mask first, the airport thing, and what comes first? Because how do we overcome limiting beliefs if we don't kind of like ourselves or don't feel? I mean, the worthiness is one thing, but I think it was Mel Robbins or something that talked about giving yourself a high five in the morning.
Right.
Give yourself a high five, because we have to start liking ourselves, and then the limiting beliefs show up, and you say, "Oh, that's what I'm doing," but not to see these limiting beliefs and say, "Oh, what kind of a person?" Don't add more limiting beliefs
Right.
onto that, because So what do you? So where do you go from that? You
Right.
start with A. Mhm.
Yes. So you start with the recognition that there is a limiting belief. Again, because that impacts behavior, now the next thing that you need to work on in order for you to be able to back up and rethink your options is you work on mindset. So that many people will say, oh, you need a coach, you need this, you need that. And you may very well, but there are many things that you can do yourself and at
Yes.
home. One of the things that I talk about with my coaching clients is making sure that you have a morning routine. And I'm not talking about some big 30-minute thing that's going to make you late for work or school or whatever it is. I'm talking about even 5 minutes, beginning with journaling. And I have my clients do this. Before your feet hit the floor, have your journal, your notepad, whatever. You write 3 things that you are grateful for and why. The and why is really important because it makes it heart centered. And you need it to be heart centered in order to begin to change that behavior. The
I want to
reason
ask
why,
one question, one right here. Writing versus, now people have their phones next to them, versus recording something like that. What is the difference, the connection with writing
so
versus recording it?
because of how we learn as adults.
That's
So
right.
you hear it one time, right? And that's great. And I don't care how many times you hear it. You hear it one time, sure, you can remember it, and that's all fine and good. But you see it, and now it's logged literally in your unconscious for you to reach
Yes.
back and get. And if
Yes.
you add that third, as I'm requesting, that you write it out, when you add that third, it is a seal.
Yes.
It
Yes.
is a seal. So the best way for me to ask everyone to think about this is I'm sure you've seen movies. There are songs that you absolutely love, but you don't know all the lyrics to it. I don't care how many times that you
You know,
have.
you're speaking to the wrong person now.
I
I love
do.
song, and I never had know the lyrics. So,
I do. That's one of the reasons why it made me think of that as an example, right? Is we're all like that though, right?
yeah,
We
yeah.
can love the song, and there are professional singers, like yourself, who have sang these songs literally for years, and then they'll get in front of a particular crowd and go blank, right? At a certain spot in the song,
Yes,
or
yes.
it'll be a different spot, right?
Yes, 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 yes. Absolutely. 100%. Been there, done that.
Right.
Yes.
And so, and I've been at concerts where I've seen it happen. And I'm saying all this to say, this is the reason why I assign any of my coaching clients to have a morning routine with the journaling. You're going to write it so you can see it. Again, the 3 things that you are grateful for and why.
Mm-hmm.
When you're writing it, obviously you're seeing it and you can read it back to yourself. And one of the habits that we've all gotten into as children is we'll read, and our teachers would have said, read silently, right? So that's what we do. We hear
Uh-huh.
ourselves reading in our head when we're
Uh-huh.
doing it, but we're not moving our lips. But that's still the third. You're still getting the third. You're getting the audio, you're getting the video, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're seeing that, and you're getting the tactile because you are actually writing it. So 3 things that you are grateful for and why.
Mm-hmm.
Please be sure to include and why. The next 3 things that I want you to write down are 3 things that you're going to accomplish that day.
Ah.
Here's the thing. You don't have to put these massive tasks out there. There are some
Yes.
people, and I had a client that had fibromyalgia. Washing her hair was extremely difficult for her because mobility was extremely difficult for her. Even ambulating, moving around, to wash her hair, holding her arms up to wash her hair, that type of thing. It was literally, she would need to take a nap after she did that.
Oh, wow, wow.
So for her, having that as something on her list to accomplish, it was a big deal. So I say that to say it doesn't have to be massive things that you're accomplishing. And even children can do this too. It could
Mm-hmm.
be as simple as, I'm making up my bed today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do my chores without complaining today.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is for you.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, or even the next day, when you're writing for the next day, you're going to check off the things that you actually accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
For
And I
sure.
love that you said they can be small things. And when I speak with youth who are aging out or in who have been in care, I love the writing aspect of this, writing something down. And a chore something can be, I'm going to smile today. I'm going to, I don't know, be positive today. I am going to work out today. I'm going to walk today. I'm going to appreciate the sun today. Something small, but that can impact your life. Just choosing to be, and as we talked about before, choice. You want to choose to have a better life. I mean, in increments, however it works for you. So you want to choose that.
Absolutely. And a way to bring that home for you is, in fact, having a morning routine where you're literally starting out your day. Remember, I said before your feet hit the
The
floor,
ground, yeah. Mm-hmm.
because if you do it then, you literally are starting out your day on a positive note. The last thing I write on my own journal, after those 6 things, the 3 things that I'm grateful for and why, the 3 things that I'm going to accomplish today, the last thing that I write is a little paragraph that begins, I am happy and grateful now that
Ooh, nice. Say that again.
I am happy and grateful now that I. Now, here's the thing about this sentence. This one is where you can dream. You can speak something into existence for yourself. So, for instance, I am happy and grateful now that I have found a loving family. Even if you don't have it yet.
Yes.
You are putting it out there. You're asking for that gift.
Mm-hmm.
I am happy and grateful
Mm-hmm.
now that I am in perfect health,
Mm-hmm.
right? I am
Mm-hmm.
happy and grateful now that
Mm-hmm.
that is your dream statement. That is your future statement for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love
As I'm
that.
sure you can
Now that
imagine.
I love that state. I'm just trying to take that in now that and I'm seeing myself. I always go back to trying to see myself as this youth, 17. What would I have said? What would I have said to myself? Is this kind of manifestation? I would have loved to have had that. I've said, to say I'm happy and grateful that I have found, I love that, found a family, that I have found a job, all of that.
Mhm.
I think that's so important to have those statements. But what advice, I'm going to take you back again. What advice were you given as a youth that sort of, that stuck with you the most? I mean, if you can give us one good and one that wasn't so good.
One good.
One good one and one that's you had to
Right. That
go,
wasn't health.
no, I'm 25 now, no.
Okay. I'll start with the bad one first so we can end
Okay.
it on a good note. The bad one. You know you're black, right?
Uh,
That was the advice. It was someone else unwittingly. They weren't attempting to, I'm sure. I'm sure there was no malicious intent,
mhm.
but they were attempting to help me to make sure that my expectations weren't too high, that I didn't dream so big that I couldn't accomplish it.
Know your place.
Correct. It's the same thing. And that was exactly how I took it, was like, know your place. You know you're black. No, no.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so, again, I'm positive that it was from a good place. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a thing to remember. It almost always is from a good place. They're trying
Mm-hmm.
to protect you from a certain pain or disappointment. That is their
Yes.
belief when they say that to you, not recognizing that or anything else that would be them imposing a limiting belief on you.
Now that's coming from a black person. I just want to,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I just want to, yeah.
Absolutely. It was a family member, even.
Yeah,
And
who
someone,
knew their place and who, yeah, that was what was brought into them and they passed
exactly.
that on to you, feeling that they were going to help you to navigate life.
Exactly. The the good part, the best advice that I was given was from my grandfather, who wanted me to be a doctor because he said about the way I think, right, and how I care about people, that I would be really good at being a doctor. And
Hmm.
then he said, but that's what I want for you. You can do anything you want. You know
Oh,
that.
yes. Wow, I love that.
I was like,
I can? Yay!
are you sure?
Yeah. You mean that? I can?
Right. Exactly. I was
Yeah.
like, are you sure? And I was 11 when he told me that.
Hmm.
He passed away when I was 12, but
Hmm.
fortunately, he got to tell me that. So anytime someone would say something where they were basically trying to give me their limiting belief, I would remember what my grandfather said to me. That was
Yeah.
my thought for you. But you
Yes.
can do anything you want to, right?
So we see Deneen, powerhouse woman, and you are all that. Fempreneur, entrepreneur. Is there a limiting belief that still challenges you?
Oh, I'm sure. Right? Let me
Just
just
asking. Just
right,
because I
exactly.
want
No,
people to
I'm
know.
right. No, no, no. I'm sure that there is, and I can tell you that I hit something. Hmm, it could be daily. What I know to do, though, because we're all human, and this is part of the grace that you have to give yourself.
Hmm.
I acknowledge it, and what I know to do is to just run through it because I also have what my grandfather said, which is you can do anything, right? So anyone who knows me will be like, I can't believe you did that, right? Or I can't, what? How did you even think? Oh my goodness, for some of the things that I've accomplished. And for me, I'm like, okay, I did. And then I'll journal and write about it, right?
Yeah.
Like I am happy and grateful now that except for I won't say the thing that I've accomplished, I'll say the next step, right? Whatever the next step up from that thing is.
You'll
But
say
yeah,
the next dream. Is that the
the
next
next
dream
dream.
up?
Yeah, the next dream. And if it has something to do with that same thing, then it will be the next step of that particular dream, or I'm moving on to a new dream. But I certainly, everyone still will, they just won't be paralyzing. And that's the important part, is to get to the point where your mindset is that, okay, yep, I know this, and now I know what to do. I need to shift my perspective and keep it moving. One quick thing about that. I say keep it moving, and I say it like it's so easy to do and da 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 da.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not. It's
yeah. It's
not.
not. It's not. We know. Yeah.
No,
We
I'm
need to
going.
hear that. We need to hear that. It's not easy.
No, it's not. And I'm also going to say, do it afraid. Do it anyway. Here's the thing. What people don't realize is the exact same emotion, the physiological response for both fear and joy is the same. You get the butterflies in your stomach or you get knots in your stomach, whatever that happens to be. Your heart might beat a little faster, you might bounce or something like I do. And it's like, oh, the only difference between the two is in fear, you believe that the outcome is going to be negative.
Uh
In
huh.
joy,
Yep. Yep.
in joy, you believe that the outcome is going to be positive.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Focus on what you want to be positive and start moving in that direction. And you can do it, like I said, afraid or remembering that you're actually in joy. Because a lot of times we think it's fear and we're really just joyful or excited, right? We're excited about it. And again, if you think about those feelings and think about even physiologically what your body does, right? The rapidly beating heart, your
Mm-hmm.
breathing might get a little bit shallow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is exactly the same thing.
So I want to get back to limiting beliefs again. What's the difference? How do you know it's a limiting belief or your gut reaction to an obstacle or an actual, yeah, your gut reaction could be like, hey, that's a no go. There's a limiting belief and there's a gut reaction and an obstacle and, you know, I don't know, true obstacle, true danger. How do you trust your gut or feel that it's a limiting belief?
So, for limiting belief, what you realize, like I said, is that you are stopping or pushing away something that is good for you. You
Ah,
you
yes.
recognize that.
Yes. Stopping
That's
or
why it's so
pushing away
important.
something that is good for you. Okay.
Yes, yes. Good for you,
Okay.
beneficial to you,
Yes.
that type of thing.
Hmm.
If you're getting a gut reaction, because sometimes it really is just a no.
Hmm.
I know that some people actually will hear the words in their head as well. They will hear, no, not just the gut reaction, the knot in the stomach, but also
Mm-hmm.
almost like some people have described it as, well, I think it was my guardian angel, or it was my self-talk or whatever, but there's usually two things,
Mm-hmm.
not just the gut. There's usually two
Mm-hmm.
things when it's your intuition at work to
Mm-hmm.
help prove to you what the actual action is. Like I said, some people say they hear. I know I'm like that. I'll hear like a no, or that's not true. I literally, it's like I will
Yeah.
hear things like no, or that's not true in my head, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not like somebody speaking in my ear or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
In my head at the same time that my stomach is doing that.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't recognize, start to pay attention to what
Mm-hmm.
your second validation is, because there's always a second validation with your intuition.
Mm-hmm.
The intuition, the intuitive gut feeling, also sometimes will make you actually feel bad about, ooh. And I've actually seen people do that, be like,
Mm-hmm.
someone will say something to them and it's like that physical withdrawal, if you
Mm-hmm.
will.
Mm-hmm.
Also a second validation that we're talking about intuition here. We're not talking about a limiting belief. We're talking about all of the powers of that be, whatever your belief is in a higher
Mm-hmm.
power are telling you no, right? Your intuition, there's two forms of validation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So looking for those is
Yeah.
great. It might be a physical, like I said, a physical withdrawal that unconscious, right? But you literally physically kind of move back to it. You might hear it in your head as well, besides the gut feeling, right? You might hear it in your head as well, but there's always two-level validation.
And sometimes we hear it in our head and still proceed with, even though we have that, we know the angels and all of the whispers in the universe is saying, don't do that. But you say, well, maybe, just maybe, I can change. And that can be in a relationship. You know, when you choose somebody and they're really not, you're not right for each other, but you stay in there hoping you can change the situation. But the root of your relationship is just not, it's not there. It's not whole. It's not the path. But we have to learn that. We have
Yes.
to learn that's not a failure. It's just learning. Get away as quickly as you can, I say, but
Yeah.
but
Right.
but learn from that, and don't beat yourself up. With all of this learning, I don't want people to beat themselves up about what they've done or haven't done, or what they know or don't know, or limiting beliefs, because now limiting belief gets into shame. Now we're talking about shame. So let's talk about shame and how that affects us.
Right. Shame is another one of those internally generated emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Here's why. Shame comes about when a person feels like they haven't lived up to a certain standard, whether it's an
Mm-hmm.
ethical standard, a professional standard, a cultural standard, whatever the standard is.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, whose standard is it?
Mm-hmm.
Is it someone else's standard?
Mm-hmm.
Because if it is, they're not the ones generating shame in you. You are.
Yes.
If it's your standard, there's nothing to be ashamed of, because we're all a work in progress. So you
Yes.
keep going until you reach the standard that you set for yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
oh, by the way, when you're doing that, there's no shame. That is not shame.
Mm-hmm.
Shame is not living up to a standard someone else set for you. And that's why it's self-generated, not just you working on yourself. Because that's the thing. I want to refer back to something you just said a moment ago. When it comes to working on yourself and going through these things, grace is extremely important. We have to give ourselves grace. We are a work in progress. We will always be a work in progress because there's no such thing as perfection. There is not. It does not exist in our galaxy. It does not exist in a human in our galaxy. That is what I can say about that with 100% certainty, and every scientist on the planet will agree. We can get close, and people try. However, know that absolute perfection is unattainable. Enjoy the journey. That's what we have to do.
Yeah, I love that. I always say, one of the things I say, not always, but one of the things I say, that I am God's unfinished work of art. He left the finishing touches to me.
Yes.
So the choices we make, the times we fall, and we get up, and we hopefully don't repeat the same mistakes or don't repeat them as intensely as we did before. But, we will repeat them. So I guess before we close, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the one thing. You talked just a little bit about my book, Learning to Pivot, Mastering Resilience. There, I actually write about how to be resilient, how to adapt and thrive, because that's what resilience is all about, is adapting and thriving. Notice I did not say bounce back, come back, all of those things, because it implies that you were flat on your back, that you were down. And I like to propose that no, you're not, right? You are doing something. You're here. You are doing something to try to better yourself.
Yeah.
And so when these bad things happen, a way to keep you from not repeating them is learn the lesson. The lesson itself is always, always something positive. So the lesson cannot be, oh, well, I know what I learned. I'll never do that again. That's what I learned, right? Or I learned that that person is a horrible person. No, that is not a lesson. The lesson is always positive. So the lesson will sound something like this. Well, if I want to accomplish that, I'm going to have to do it differently. Or in the case of a relationship, like you were referring to, it's not about that other person. Okay, what decisions was I making along the way to allow this into my sphere of influence and even life?
Yeah, to own that.
Yes, own it. Be accountable for your actions. What were the decisions that I made? Or did I have boundaries? Did I exercise my boundaries?
That's an excellent point. Boundaries.
If you don't, and if you don't know them, now is a good time, because you just recognized, right? Now is a good time for you to understand what your boundaries are.
So Deneen, you've given us so much to think about, and of course, your book, and we'll talk a little bit more about that before we go. But one last question: how can someone, and I know you've mentioned it all the way through, but how can someone cultivate a mindset of growth and abundance to counteract limiting beliefs? And I know you've touched on it all the way through, but just so we can.
Right. Absolutely. So number one, you got to recognize the limiting belief. That's almost the same thing I just said a moment ago, which is learning the lesson, right? It's the same thing, the positive. Oh, now I recognize this. To begin to change the behavior, what you're going to want to do is start out small. Like I said, that morning routine, really, really important. I have seen people go from walking around looking and sounding grumpy to being curious. And for some people, that's as high as they're going to go, is curious. They're never going to truly be a joyful person. And that's okay, because that's who they are. We're back to, you have to give yourself grace. So starting with that, after you have gotten yourself going on the morning routine and you've shifted yourself positively, the next step in changing that behavior is truly focusing on understanding that limiting belief. Where did that come from? 9 times out of 10, it's something from when we were small, because it's usually, and again, science proves this, usually it is somewhere between the ages of 2 and 8 that all of these things are set for us.
Yep.
And then they show up later when we come as adults, still acting like the 6-year-old or the 8-year-old, either mentally or emotionally.
In our child self.
Correct. In our child self. Some of that, now is the time, after you have done some of this work yourself, now is the time that you can actually reach out to someone, a coach or a mentor, to help you focus in a particular aspect of your life, because you can't take it all on at once, right?
Yep.
You have to focus on a particular aspect of your life. You can do some things on your own. The reason why I'm not recommending that is because you still have that same mindset and you still have that same belief system, and you're not being introduced to new
ways of
and
thinking.
different and workable solutions.
All right, so we talked about the 3 limiting beliefs. We said the first one was not enoughness, imposter syndrome, or
Where it is imposter syndrome, which literally is, I'm not enough and I don't deserve to be here. I don't deserve.
The second one is?
The second one that we were talking about is, I don't have it. I just don't. And I'm never going to get it, Sharon. and I'm saying it that way because kind of in people's heads, that's what they're thinking. That's how I'm not enough, or I don't have enough, meaning the resources aren't there. When in fact, there are unlimited resources. We just have to open our eyes and mind to see them.
Okay, number 3.
We named them. I am not enough. I do not deserve. We just put those under the imposter syndrome. Imposter's the new word, right?
Yeah, the new word. And we have shame in there. We have shame. We touched on shame. It might, so we talked about more than the top 3 because that is what
that's life.
That is life. We talked about more. Do you have any sort of parting words for us? Any takeaways? Because I always love your positivity, your positivity.
Thank you.
It's a power,
my parting
superpower.
words. Okay, yes, my parting words would be for everyone. You are enough. You have everything you need to be successful. You just need to acknowledge that it's there and actually utilize the resources that you have. You deserve to be here. You are enough.
Yes.
You have everything you need to be successful.
Whew. That's wonderful. Thank you, Deneen. And for those of you out there, Deneen had the books, Learning to Pivot. Please check that out. There's some great information and tools and steps that you can use. The journaling, all of that, try these things. I'm not saying you can do all of it at once. Some of you are meditating. I don't know there, but try something different, because life can look so much better for you. Even though you're in the dark place right now, there is light. There's a beginning, middle, and end. There is a beginning, middle, and end. And I thank you, Deneen, and for the audience and viewers, I wish you all a brighter life, dream, learning to dream and dream big and dream all the time, and to have grace and to know your value, and to speak with someone if you find a coach or a mentor, because what I've learned is that we can't become ourselves by ourselves.
That is a
So
fact.
I wish you well. Yeah, that is a fact. So that, I mean, even things like they said, it takes a village to raise a child. So I thank you all for being here, and I thank Deneen, and I will see you soon, Deneen, I hope.
Yes.
I'm wishing you all well, and don't forget to, do you want to name your books? Or we're going to put your books in the outro, but do you want to just mention,
Yes.
if you
So,
can remember them all?
well, in this case, we're only going to talk about one, which
Okay.
the name of my book is Learning to Pivot, Mastering Resilience. You have my name there. My name is Deneen Andrades. And in that book, the things that I talk about, as Sharon mentioned earlier, are exactly how to be resilient, and hope everyone understand that you already are. You already are resilient. You have the resources you need, and to help point them out and give you steps on how to identify them for yourself.
Don't forget to high five yourself, y'all. Stay blessed. Thank you, Deneen.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
You too. As Deneen said, you deserve to be here. Whoever you are, you deserve to be here. Your story matters, your journey matters, your voice matters. Until next time, I'm Sharon Lee Williams for Outraged Voices.